Hello students, welcome to the second part of an introduction to algebra tiles. So you've had some practice with representing various algebraic expressions with algebra tiles. So now in the second video we're going to get into some more higher techniques. Okay, so we're on example 13 and you notice that we've given the whole slide for one question. So there's got to be a reason for that. There's also something different here. Step 1 and step 2. So let's see what that's all about. Okay, so the strategy is the same. We're going to look for any x squareds. So the first x squared I see is a positive x squared. So let's bring over a positive x squared. Then, as I look at this algebraic expression, I'm looking for any more x squareds. So at the very end of the expression, I see another term, negative 3x squared. So now we're looking for negative x squareds. So I'm going to grab a negative x squared block or tile, and I don't want to put it here. I want to put it underneath, and hopefully you can figure out why right away. So when I put this underneath, then I can recognize that this positive x squared and this negative x squared create a zero model. So that's why I wanted to put the negative tiles underneath. All right, so I needed to grab 3 of them. So let me grab 2 more. And I'm going to line them up with the other negative. Okay? So I don't want to mix the positive and the negative in the same row because this is easy to see that a zero model has been created. Okay, so now let's look for any x's. So we're going to start with negative 3x. Now in the previous questions, I always line them up vertically, but this time, because we've already kind of seen that there may be the possibility of zero models, I'm going to line this up horizontally. So I've taken care of the negative 3x. So now, are there any more x's? And here we have positive 2x. So let's grab from the positive x bin. Let's grab 1. And again, I don't want to put it to the side because if I put it underneath, hopefully you'll recognize that a zero model has been created, and I needed to grab 2 of those positive x's. So in fact, if I put this here, you can see that I've created 2 zero models here. 1 zero model over here and 2 zero models over here. Okay, let's look for any integers. Are there any integers? Yes, there's positive 2. So let me grab 2 integer tiles, and I'm just going to put them over here as far right as I can. Okay? All right. So normally if we were doing these diagrams on paper, we would circle the zero model. So let me show you how to do that using Google Slides. All right, so let's go to Insert, Shape, Shapes, and we're going to choose Rounded Rectangle. So what we're going to do is we're going to draw a loop around this zero model. So when you do that, you'll notice that it kind of fills that rounded rectangle in. So we're going to look for the paint can fill color option, and we're going to choose transparent. Transparent means see-through. Then I want to change the line color to red, and then the line weight, I want it to stand out a little bit more, and we're going to change it to 3. So those are the steps needed to create a zero model loop. So now let's create a zero model loop around these 2 zero models here. So let me again go to Insert, Shape, Shapes, Rounded Rectangle. I'm going to draw a loop around these 2 zero models. I don't have to do them individually, I can do them together. Fill color, transparent, line color, red, line weight 3 times. Okay? All right, now there were no zero models created with the positive 2. No big deal. Okay, so normally if we were working with tiles on our desk, we would take those zero models away. So how do we show that? So let's go to Insert, Shape, Arrows, and let's just choose the right arrow. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to create a small arrow here. I'm going to change the line color to red, and I'm going to change the line weight to 3 times. Now at the top of each shape, you'll get this little rotation ball here. So what I want to do is I just want to rotate it slightly, just so that I can position this arrow to show that that zero model is going to be taken away. Okay, so if I like that arrow, I can just click on it and go to Edit, Copy, Edit, Paste. I don't need to draw a brand new one for this set of zero models. I'll just place that over there. Okay, so now what do you think step 2 is? Step 2, it has here in brackets simplify. So simplify means what happens when we take away the zero models? Okay, so let's look at the x squareds first. So if we take away this zero model, what's left? Well, we have 2 negative x squareds. So let me bring over 2 negative x squareds. Okay. All right, let's look at our x's. Once I get rid of these two zero models, what's left? Well, what's left is 1 negative x. So let me grab one of those. And then, are there any integers left? Yes, because nothing happened with this positive 2. So let's bring over 2 positive tiles. Okay, so this is my final answer. And do you see why now this step is called simplify? Because look at how many tiles we had originally in our question. But once we take away any zero models, it becomes a much simpler answer. That's why this step is called simplify. So we have our x squareds first, then we have our x's, and then we have our integers. Okay, so now that you know how to do that with step 2 with zero models, let's go on to slide 8, number 14. Again, always scan for any x squareds first. So I see that it has negative 2x squared. Okay. Now, are there any other x squareds? Yes, there are. There are 3 positive x squares, or plus 3x squareds. Now you can have these tiles right next to each other or with a little space. I've always done it with a little space, but it actually works if you have them together. I'll show you. So let's bring over the 3 positive x squareds. Okay, so you see I've stacked the positive x squares, the positive 3x squares, underneath the negative 2x squares because I recognize right away that I'm going to create some zero models. Okay, so let's scan through our algebraic expression and look for any x values. So the first x value I see is a negative x. So let me bring over a negative 1x. Let's scan the algebraic expression. Are there any other x's? I see a positive 2x. So I'm going to bring over 2 positive rectangles, and I don't want to put them beside the first negative rectangle because I recognize that if I place this underneath, it's going to create a zero model. And I need 2 of those, positive 2x. Okay? All right, lastly, I'm going to look for any integers. So the first integer is negative 3. So let's bring over 1, 2, 3. And are there any more integers? I have a positive 4 here, a positive 4. So let's bring over 4 positive integers. Okay, so now I'm going to be on the simplifying step. And remember, simplify means look for any zero models. Well, I've created my tile diagram very neatly, so it's going to be very easy to identify zero models. All right, so let's go to Insert, Shape, Shapes, Rounded Rectangle. And I notice that there are two zero models here. So I'm going to create a loop around the two zero models. Going to go to transparent, red, and line weight of 3. Okay. I've created one zero model here. So let's go to insert, shape, shapes, rounded rectangle. Going to create one loop here. Going to make it transparent, red, and 3 times. And then I've created 3 more zero models with my integers. So insert, shape, shapes, rounded rectangle, and let's create a loop of 3 here. Okay. So what I can do is with that arrow, I can go back to my previous slide. I can again click on it, copy, come back to the slide I was on, and paste, and place it into position. And then I could paste it again, and put this one over in the corner here, and then paste it again, and then have this one sticking on this loop here. Okay? So let's see what we have left. Let's start with our x squareds. So once I take away these two zero models, what's left? Well, we have a positive x squared. Okay, so let's bring that over here. Let's look at our x's. What's left after we take away this zero model? Well, we have 1x. So let me put that right there. And then let's look at our integers. What's left once we take away these 3 zero models? We have positive x. Oh, sorry, not positive x, positive 1. Okay? So look at how much simpler this algebraic expression is compared to this, or compared to this, what we started with. That's why step 2 is called simplify. We take away the zero models and we're left with a much simpler expression. We want to have our x squareds first, our x's second, and our integers last. Okay, let's go on to slide 9, example 15. Okay, so example 15 is an example of an equation. So you notice that in an equation we have an equal sign somewhere near the middle. So in an equation, I want you to think about this equal sign as a wall. We have a left side here on the left side of the wall, and then we have a right side, the right side of this wall, right side of the equal sign. I don't want you to mix anything from the left side with the right side. So that's why I've created this little dotted line as a wall. Okay, so let's focus on the left-hand side first. I'm going to look for any x squareds, but I can't see any x squareds. So then the next thing to look for are x's. So let's look here. So I've got a negative 2x and a positive 4x. So let's bring those over. So negative 2x is going to look like this. Okay. And then positive 4x. So because this positive is a different sign from the negative, I'm going to line them up underneath to create zero models. So those are my 2. And then I need to bring a third. And then because I don't have a lot of room, I'm just going to put this one underneath. Okay, so that's my positive 4x. So now let's look for any integers. Now, I'm not going to have the room to continue on to the right, so I'm going to use this space below because I don't want to cross this wall. This wall is where the equal sign is. So we have negative 3 and then positive 5. Okay, so let's line those up. Negative 3 and positive 5. I'm going to put the positives underneath because I recognize that zero models are going to be created here. So we've got 3 and then 4 and then 5. So you see how 3 zero models are going to be created here and 2 zero models are going to be created here. Okay, so now let's hop over the wall and let's go to the right side of the equation. Equation means equal sign. All right, let's look for any x squareds. So we have a 3x squared. Okay, so these guys are big, so I'm going to push them over as far as possible. Okay, and then I'm going to look for any other x squareds. So I've got a negative 2x squared. So let's bring over two of these big tiles. Okay. Now on the right hand side, are there any x's? No, there's only integers left. So we have a negative 2 and a positive 3. Okay, so let's bring over the negative 2. Again, I won't have room to put it over here, so I'm going to put it underneath for now. Negative 2 and then a positive 3. Okay, so you see some zero models are going to be created here. All right, so now let's evaluate. Let's mark all of our zero models. So I've got 2 here. So you know what to do. So I've got my 2 zero models for the x's. Now I'm going to create my 3 zero models over here. Okay, so that takes care of my left side of the equation. Remember, this is the wall. So now let's look on the right side. I cannot combine anything from the left side with anything on the right side. That's why I put this wall here. Okay, so I recognize there are 2 zero models right here. And looks like I've got 2 zero models down here. Okay. All right, so let's go to the previous. Actually, since I haven't copied and pasted anything, I should be able to go to Edit, Paste, and the clipboard should remember that I copied this arrow the last. The last kind of time I copied was with this arrow. So it should still be in the clipboard. Okay, so I've got my arrows showing all of the zero models. So now step 2, I've got the equal sign in the middle. Left side is here, right side is here. You have to keep them separate with an equal sign in the middle, and I've drawn this wall. So let's look on the left side. What's left? So I've got 2 positive x's. Okay, so let's line them up over here. And then what else do I have on the left-hand side? I have 2 positives. So let's put my 2 positives over here. Okay, now let's look at the right-hand side. The right-hand side, what's left? I've got a positive x squared. And what else do I have? I have a positive x. And I've got this equal sign right in the middle. So do you see why this is called simplifying? So if I want to, I can just drag a box and I can move these a little bit closer to the equal sign, and I can drag a box and kind of put them in line here. Okay? So you see how this answer is so much more simple compared to what we started with. Okay, we've got one more to do in this long tutorial. And you see, I've left the best for last. I've got another equation with an equal sign. I've got the wall down the middle with an equal sign. And step 2 means there's going to be lots of zero models. Okay, so let's focus on the left-hand side. So how about I give you a head start, and then I'll kind of silently start. So again, you're looking for any x squareds. Once you've located any x squareds, then look for any x's. Now on the left side, we've got lots of x's. So start with the first one. Start with this one. And then go to the next one. And then go to the next one. Okay, so that takes care of all my x's. Now, let's look for any integers. Okay, so I've completed the left-hand side and hopefully you've identified some zero models here. Okay, so now let's go to the right-hand side. Remember, we always look for x squareds first. So it looks like the first term is 2x squared, so start there. Then the next term is negative 4x squared. And then we're not finished with the x squareds yet. Then we have another positive 2x squared. Okay, so that should take care of all of the x squareds. Now I want to look for any x's. So the last two terms on the right-hand side, we've got negative 2x and then positive 3x. Okay, hopefully you've lined them up and you notice that there's going to be zero models. And are there any integers? We always have to remember to look for that one last thing, integers. Positive 3. Okay, so let's go in and draw our zero models for the left side and the right side. So I've got these two sets of zero models for the left-hand side, and I've got a lot of zero models on the right-hand side as well, including all of these x squareds. Okay. And last but not least, going to get my arrows. Okay, so now once we take away all the zero models, now we're going to go to step 2, simplify. So let's examine the left side of the equal sign. So what's left on the left side of the equal sign? We have a positive x squared, and then we have positive 1. And let's look on the right-hand side of the equation. We're left with positive x, and we've got 3 positive tiles. So I'm going to put my 3 positive tiles here at the end. Okay, so that's about as complicated a question as I can give you that involves simplifying and zero models. Okay, so can you go back to this algebra tiles activity and continue on with slide 10, question 17? Okay, I've given you some hints again. Take away any zero models, and then you've got step 2. All right, thanks for watching. Bye.